John Kavanagh, thanks very much for joining me. We're here again, sort of wrapping up the weirdest year of our lives, probably. How's 2020 been for you?
Probably the same for most people. It sucked. No, it's been a tough year for a lot of people, and a lot of people suffering a hell of a lot worse than me. But it's hit the gym hard. It's hit some of my friends hard with small businesses around Dublin, and we hope and pray and cross our fingers and toes that Conor gets us off to a good start in 2021, and those good vibes continue for the year.
I know you just come back from Portugal with a training camp out there. How was it? How was the experience? And how is Conor looking?
It was great. We're out there for a couple of weeks, and we went through a period of going to Iceland for a while. And now that we've been there, I have no idea why we did Iceland. The place was beautiful. It was just really nice weather. A couple of nice places to eat close by. The gym was fantastic. It's close, you know, it's only kind of 2.5 hour flight, so you can come home for a weekend if need be. Yeah, it couldn't have went better. And as for the training, we had a fairly strict routine, which was kept to almost in a military fashion. No sessions missed, everything put in. Anything that could be done has been done.
I know when fighters this year training's been disrupted for everyone, right? And I know when they're unable to compete through no fault of their own, sometimes the timing and the sharpness can get off. How is Conor looking in regards to his quickness and his sharpness?
He's the most timiest and the most sharpest I've ever seen him. He really has. He's almost kept up this training camp for the year. 2020 has been it was supposed to be his season, but it seems to have been his training season. So thankfully he did keep his head down on that area, and I hesitate to use the word training camp because that's usually 6 or 8 weeks, whereas this has been 12 months really. But it's peaking at the right time. I feel the last couple of weeks the intensity has been brought up. And we had the thing as well that we had almost every other week we had some new people coming in to kind of keep things fresh, whether it's Phil in Crumlin bringing in a new boxer, or maybe a new grappler coming over from my gym. And that's kind of kept everybody on their toes. But as for looking at Conor himself, I just think you have to look at his physical appearance for a start. My dad keeps ringing me scared that he's had to put on too much weight. He looks like a tank at this stage. But weight's on track, everything's on track. But physically, mentally. Actually, we came across a video of him when we went out there for the first time, which was, I think it was after the Diaz one, so whatever number of years ago that is. And it's almost unrecognizable looking at the difference between those two fights. He's really developed as a professional athlete, and at what is he now, 31, 32, he's entering his physical and mental prime. So we're in for some good times.
It is a return to 155. In regards to that, because if you look at his Instagram, he looks jacked, I would suppose the word would be. How is the weight, and how do you think he will be in his first fight at lightweight in a couple of years? I don't think it's going to be it's not going to be fun. Let's be honest. He's not going down to the 145 days, so you know, a full 10 pounds on top of those days, which were rough, and he never missed one. This one, he's taken a bit of a longer approach to it, rather than, you know, keeping the weight similar and then like a severe drop in the last few days. He's kind of ramping it down. The guys are really on top of that. They've got a couple of markers he's got to hit, and he's actually just hit one, and he's achieving the kind of gradual step down, which I think is going to suit him better rather than a very severe one. His goal is to be quite active in 2021, so there's no point in kind of yo-yoing the diet, like bring it down sensibly. But he is looking fantastic at the moment, and Conor loves a mirror, so keep that jacked appearance for as long as possible. You mentioned he wants to be active in 2021, and obviously this year he wanted to be active too, but the world sort of fell apart. When you look at the lightweight division, well, we'll start with his fight with Dustin. You know, it's the rematch. They fought at 145 way back when. When you look at Dustin Poirier's evolution as a fighter since that fight, it might be a weird way to put it, but do you think he's gotten better or just tougher? Because the fight since then, he's been in big wars and he's managed to stay in there, whereas Conor put him away pretty early in their fight. When you look at Poirier's evolution as a fighter, what do you make of it?
Yeah, no, I think he's definitely gotten better. You know, there's a few more takedown attempts now in his fights. He has a, I hadn't seen it before, he has a good guillotine, we can see that. And then his volume and his conditioning is looking on point. And you can see in his fights he has an ability to take a lot of punishment and still come forward. You can pick any of his last few fights to see that quality. However, he's fighting a different animal than any of those guys. Somebody with true one-punch knockout power that he's already felt. And I think you could spend a lifetime going to sports psychologists and talking to this person and that person. That's not going to have been erased from his mind. He knows that he is facing somebody who can shut off his lights very, very rapidly. And now is a lot more powerful and a lot more experienced than he was even then. So it's a tough uphill battle for Dustin, but Dustin's a phenomenal fighter, great fighter, and I know they've got him and Conor certain agreements on charity things outside, which is great. I think that's what professional sport should be about anyway. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one.
It's funny you mentioned the mental games, because I remember before their first fight, everyone, you know, Conor was back at the shouty stage. He was giving the insults, calling him P-head, and people suspected he got into Dustin's head that fight. I don't think we're going to see much of the same ahead of this one, but do you think because of that first result, the mind games have almost already been played?
Yeah, there's nothing to be said when you've really badly hurt someone like that so fast. It's not like it was, you know, a decision win or maybe some sort of argument to be made, or it was a bit back and forward and Conor got a shot off. It was a bad night for Dustin. It was very one-sided, and when you look at some of the shots he's absorbed, now he's a bigger man now, and you could say there's maybe some argument he can absorb more shots now, but he's fighting a bigger man as well. And even if you remember back to the fight, the opening hook kick had just whistled by his head a couple of inches lower. That might have even outdone the Aldo fight. So look, they've both matured physically, age-wise. You know, they're in the 30s now and families. Dustin's had a couple of more contests than Conor since then in the octagon. Conor's never stopped training and has been, you know, has obviously had a boxing match and has done other stuff. So it's interesting to see how the styles meet up this time.
It's not confirmed, but there's suggestions that there's going to be a backup fight on the card, possibly between Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. When you look at those two, do either of them present an interesting puzzle that Conor hasn't faced before, or do you think Chandler, Gaethje, and Poirier are mostly boxer?
Yeah, I think in terms of opponent difficulty levels, Dustin would be the top of that group. So if one is replacing Dustin, there's no nice way of saying it, but it's a slightly easier fight. Dustin is the best of those guys, in my opinion.
And this obviously all comes after the lightweight division had a pretty monumental change. Khabib Nurmagomedov retired and says he won't compete again. Dana White says he thinks he might be able to convince him otherwise. In your opinion, you've been around fighters for years. Do you look at him and think he's probably not coming back? And if he doesn't, is it a tragedy that we don't get to see the rematch between him and McGregor?
This year's been a tragedy.
Yes. Tragedy is perhaps a bit of a strong word, but do you think it's a shame that we wouldn't get to see the rematch?
Yeah, of course. I think Conor and Khabib are the two best lightweights, and it'll be of course for me from a coaching perspective, it'd be phenomenal to see that contest again. Will he come back? You're asking the wrong guy. That's Khabib. He seems the type of guy that if he says something, that's it. But like Dana has hinted, it seems to be there might be some wiggle room in those promises made. So, you know, time will tell. Right now we have a very exciting fight coming up in a couple of weeks' time. And I think 2021, regardless of what's next for Conor, it's going to be an exciting year. He seems to be like I said, in a very different mindset than I've seen him in a long time. And Conor tends to be all in no matter what he's doing. And he's all in on following a routine and training a certain way and eating a certain way. And he's got all sorts of ideas about different competitions and different things he can do for the next year. And I'm just happy to be playing a small part and continuing to chat to you every couple of months. Although it's been a year this time.
Yeah. I know that's the real pinnacle.
That's where it peaks.
Do you think Conor's a world champion by the end of 2021?
Conor is a world champion. Do you mean is he going to be?
Is he going to win the UFC world title in lightweight or welterweight even divisions by the end of this year?
If he so chooses, yes. I don't know what the exact plan is, but I don't really get why this one isn't for the title.
I was going to ask.
If I'm being 100% honest, maybe it's staying. This is a little carrot towards Khabib. You know, do you really want this guy there? I don't know. I know there's those type of games that go on. I don't involve myself in it, but this to me feels like it's for the belt. But I guess at the very least, the winner of this will be offered a title fight. But who would that be against? It's a bit of a strange scene where we have in front of us, which makes it interesting.
There you go. Well, John, as always, appreciate the time once a year. It's the only time you have to do this stuff, so I appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you in January.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.